The president wants us to believe there's a choice between the economy and public health. Amazingly, he still hasn't grasped the most basic fact of this crisis. To fix the economy, we have to get control over the virus. Say it again, to fix the economy, we have to get control over the virus. He's like a child who can't believe this has happened to him. All his whining and self-pity. Well, this pandemic didn't happen to him. It happened to all of us. And his job isn't to whine about it. His job is to do something about it, to lead. If I have the honor of being president, I promise you I will lead. I will do everything I can to take responsibility and ease this burden on you and your families. The number of cases is increasing in 29 states. We're going to be dealing with this for a long time. Trump can't wish it away. He can't bend it to meet his political wishes. There are no miracles coming. We're not going to have to wait for this miracle because none's coming. We're going to have to step up as Americans, all of us, and do both the simple things and the hard things to keep our families and our neighbors safe, to reopen our economy, to eventually put this pandemic behind us. And sadly, we're going to have to do it without responsible leadership coming out of the White House.
The thing about the Trump campaign desperately trying to paint Joe Biden as confused is that he made more sense in 2 minutes discussing the coronavirus outbreak than Trump has in the last 6 months. And that is because Trump does not seem to realize that until and unless the outbreak is contained, there will be no reopening. Cases will continue to surge like they're doing now, so governors and mayors can stick open signs on businesses, but if people don't feel safe, it's not going to matter. I don't know who needs to hear this, but most Americans aren't falling over themselves to get infected with a deadly virus. And yet Trump doesn't care, because A, his only priority is the economy, not American lives. And so if reopening means that even some money will start to trickle in, well then it's worth it if we have to sacrifice a few 100,000 Americans in the process. Because this isn't about whether any of us survive, it's about Trump being able to point to the S&P 500 and brag about it. And B, he simply doesn't want to do the work. That's why instead of spending the time to coordinate a national testing strategy and contact tracing plan and ensuring there was enough PPE, Trump opted instead to tout miracle cures like hydroxychloroquine and injecting disinfectant. That's why he spent more time cheering on military jet flyovers than actually ensuring doctors and nurses had masks. He isn't half as interested in spending even a minute doing what needs to be done when he could spend his time cheering on empty gestures that he thinks are patriotic. I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time a military flyover cured me of anything. The craziest part is that this is all self-defeating. If Trump just took the time to do what was necessary to eliminate the virus, we'd be reopened. We'd be like New Zealand or Australia or Germany or any number of countries whose leaders opted to follow science instead of some idiotic short-term re-election strategy. But Trump doesn't work that way. He isn't capable of any long-term strategy. All he sees are daily crises. And so rather than acknowledge that doing more work and taking more restrictive measures now to ensure that we can reopen sooner in the future, Trump just took it one day at a time, wherein he opted to lie about the severity of the outbreak and pretend it was over and say it would go away with the heat and claim that we have plenty of tests because he just wanted to win the news cycle of the day and protect the stock market. And so he wasted all of that precious time in the beginning that could have and should have been used to get out ahead of this virus. But here's the thing, you can't lie your way out of 125,000 deaths. And that's where Trump's strategy of plugging up holes in the boat with bubblegum fails, because the American people can see what trying to lie away the virus has done. They can look at countries like South Korea and New Zealand and Australia and compare apples to apples what the difference is when governments take the virus seriously and take quick action to combat it versus governments that try and turn it into a political wedge issue and can't even bother to do the bare minimum and encourage the use of masks. The difference here is quite literally life or death. That Biden is able to acknowledge this in and of itself means that there's no comparison between him and Trump. If you want a president who's able to acknowledge reality, who's willing to do the work necessary to actually combat the virus and coordinate a nationwide testing and contact tracing system and mandate PPE and guarantee paid sick leave to those who need it and enforce vigorous workplace safety standards and the multitude of other steps needed to finally tackle this virus and keep the American people safe and alive, then you can vote for Joe Biden. Or if you want to coddle the ego of a man who's already sacrificed 125,000 Americans because he was protecting his talking points ahead of the next election, well then you have Trump. But whatever your choice, let's not pretend for a second that these two candidates are even in the same universe. If you like that video, please check out my brand new podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I'll cover the most important political stories of the week and interview major players in the world of politics. Available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out and subscribe now.